wander in, as it were. Mute that. What is it? It's a machined aluminum shell. Where's the confusion on that? Does that help? All right, so it looks like he recently updated the instructions for this. I don't know what has changed other than some of the typos that I remember being in the original guide that I looked at. There is this section about making sure you finish the edges on the inside. And I'd show you guys, but I forgot to prepare ahead of time. And my phone isn't on. So we'll just wing it. It is linked in the description though if you want to take a look at the instructions. Alright, so I suppose now is as good a time as any to get started. To get this completely out of the way, yes, I am making my own. Boxy Pixel and I both embarked on the same project, I guess. Both started the same project. His is no more a copy of mine than mine is of his, so don't accuse either of us of shenanigans. We both did our own thing, and we're gonna take a look at his because mine's not quite ready yet. Despite the fact that I have several, but we'll talk more about that later. I want to talk about his HDR ribbon. Oh, forgot that was there. I wanna talk about his shell. That's what this stream is for. I've learned quite a bit about the process for making one of these while making this. So there are some things that I've noticed that I've seen Boxy do, and I don't necessarily agree with him, but we can talk about some of the decisions that he made. If you want just a straight review of his shell, there are already other YouTubers who have done exactly that, including this one from the Retro Future, which is literally up next, at least on my screen. There's also that one from Macho Nacho. I haven't actually watched the second one, but I don't know. I'm assuming it's pretty similar to Elliot's. But anyway, I have already opened this and started feeling it up, but I haven't actually done anything with the shell yet. Most of what I've done is just take pictures of it because I couldn't wait until I did the stream. But here is the rest of the loot I got. Just dump that out and make a mess. This is the rest of the shell that you get. You get the lower housing, battery cover, the rear screen, and that is basically it. That is what $94 gets you, just this. And screws. You need to spend another $21 for his custom machined aluminum buttons. And then you need to spend either $4.50 on a 3D printed battery spacer, because for some reason he made this battery compartment bigger, or you need to spend $10 on his battery. And then you also must either leave these holes open, install a headphone jack or USB-C port, or spend money on the plugs, the 3D printed plugs. The headphone jack one is $3. The other one is also $3. So $6 for the plugs. Or you can just leave it open. It's really not that big of a deal. Or you can install the mod. But all in all, I literally closed the tab a few hours ago. But if I words. But if I recall correctly, it does run about $130 for everything all together, and you still need to provide a GBA SP and a backlit kit if it's not already backlit. So total cost for something like this is going to be like, I don't know, $250, $300, depending on how much you spend on an SP. Which I guess makes the question quite obviously. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. You also do get a sticker that you can do anything with. Do whatever you want with the sticker. But anyway, on the price. The obvious question, or at least the question I had, is why not just buy an Analog Pocket? Analog Pocket is literally cheaper than one of these. Basically the same form factor. Better screen, better game compatibility, dockable, stuff like that. And the answer to that is really, I don't know why you wouldn't, except that the Analog Pocket just isn't a thing that you can buy right now. When that becomes a thing, I imagine that is going to be the answer to why would you buy this. And to be honest, the answer is the same for my shell. You can. This is a luxury product. This doesn't provide any extra functionality. It's just a cool thing to have. But if you just want this sort of form factor, it would make sense to get the Analog Pocket. But anyway, let me catch up on chat here. Hazi asks, is the battery cover a different color? You know, that's a trick question, because Hazi already knows that it's a different color, because I have already opened this and posted pictures. And yes, these are all supposed to be the same color, but as you can see, these are two different shades of blue. The battery cover matches the front housing. The rear housing seems to be a little bit darker. And then the screen rear seems to match the rear housing. Unfortunately, they're not all the same color. I know with anodization, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to color match, which is why if you were to make and sell buttons, sometimes you end up with stuff like this, where you have plenty of usable buttons, but nothing that actually color matches. Anyway, it's unfortunate, and I think it could be better, but it is what it is. And Victory, no, this is not the Mako X Retro CNC build. That's this one right here, which I will be whipping out periodically for comparisons, because, like I said, I've learned quite a bit about making something like this by literally making something like this. And so there are arbitrary decisions and less arbitrary decisions that I see that I think we can discuss, because I didn't see anyone else discussing them, but I also haven't actually watched all the other YouTube videos. Anyway, let's just get started with the build, and then we'll go more into everything else later. Okay. Oh I'm throwing things. So we got to start with the SP because this hasn't been taken apart. That's not true. I have definitely taken this apart before. I just put it together last night. So if you're going into this blind, or not blind, but if you're going into this fresh, I guess it would make sense to actually test your SP and make sure it's all working properly. I did that last night. I sincerely doubt much has changed since I left this on my desk. So regarding questions about availability of my shell, I have already answered that in the description. All right, that'll come off. And that comes off. So this SP is a little bit modified. Hopefully it won't make a difference, but in the off chance it does, I will have to go grab another one because this is the one that I did the charge port replacement on a very long time ago, and I messed up one of the grounds and had to run a separate one. I've since moved the ground because I was having fitment issues, but nonetheless, this one literally does not fit in my build, so hopefully it'll fit here. Anyway, we also need a backlight kit. Now, I believe specifically the funny plane kit is the recommended kit for this shell, but allegedly it works just fine with this one too, so let's try it out. Let's just double check that the kit's working. Oh, and we will have to desolder these touch sensors because they aren't going to work on an aluminum shell. Or could just cut them off, but since I have a soldering iron, I think I'll desolder them. Yeah, that looks good. Cool. I'm satisfied with that. Oh, for those wondering, these touch sensors, ooh, throwing lights everywhere. That's what these square cutouts on mine are for. Put the touch sensor there. But won't be using that here. His has a brightness button, so we will be soldering that up. And since we don't have to feed this through a hinge, we can actually do that right this second. The assembly instructions do mention to trim the pins up here to make the install go a little bit easier. I've literally already done that with all of the pins, charge port, link port, and then both the shoulder buttons. So just keep in mind if you're trying to follow along my stream for a build. We will use one of the touch sensors. I need to move this. I keep hitting it. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and guess that that is the point we need to solder to, because there is already solder on it, and this already had an IPS kit in it at several points. So, oh no. Oh, there. Hang on, let me catch up. I'm sorry. I'm really bad at paying attention to chat. Yeah, no, I don't mind the touch sensors. Don't get me wrong, I prefer a button, all things considered. And I know that that sounds kind of counterintuitive because I literally just designed a shell without the button. But I'll explain that later. Touch sensors do work though. I think they're a perfectly valid option. And if I had my tweezers, I would do this the easy way. But I don't know what I do with my tweezers. Alright, should be done with soldering. No soldering required if you do not want the additional features like brightness control, USB-C charging, headphone jack, that sort of thing. HDR, the knife tip is the best tip for soldering. I'm sorry that you're just delusional. I will admit that it does have some deficiencies, and that is why I also have one of these. But for everything that I don't need this for, this is just a better tip. Deal with it, sucker. Honorable mention for the cone tip with the flat edge. Chisel tip. Those are also nice. But these things, throw these out. These are worthless. I think we can all agree on that one. All right. Yeah, a mirror polished GBA SP would be pretty sick. I really like the Funny Playing mirror finish clear shells. I think that's just a really neat look. I wouldn't mind having some of these for SP. But if you mean like polished aluminum, that would be pretty sick too. All right, where did we leave off? Let's almost grab the wrong shell to start putting together. Let's start putting this together. I got black buttons. And yes, these are modified. You do need his buttons. Oh, that's gross. But yeah. That's kind of weird. I'm not sure I agree with that decision, but all right. Well, that makes sense. The brightness button, start and select are all the same because he made them all custom. The A and B buttons don't have any locating feet on them, like the stock buttons. I know this isn't a stock GBA SP button, but I was curious if a Game Boy Pocket button would fit. Seems like an oversight to me. I would have, if I was designing this for thicker buttons, I would have designed it for thicker buttons that you can already buy off the shelf, especially given that they're so close in size. But yeah, that's just me. Interestingly, even though you can't use them, it does still have the exact same pattern as the original buttons, like the retaining feet and whatnot. So you can drop it in there for looks, but you can't actually use it. Oh, I believe we need to install the plugs. So here is the Boxy Pixel recommended method of installing plugs. We will let that heat up. I'll get them right here. And this is a question that I had because some of the other videos didn't specifically make it clear, but these are 3D printed and they are plastic. They aren't CNC machined. I'm also kind of disappointed that the color does not at all match, but we'll make it work. Indeed, glue gun. Wish I had my tweezers. I should have found my tweezers before I started this. Just drop a glob in there. And we'll put a glob there. And I don't really have to worry about any of these strings because I'll just, I mean, they're not going to go anywhere. They're glued down. Guess that's not coming up easily either. Okay. Sorry, let me catch up on chat again. Mako, will you sell your new GBA SP battery mod? Esping, what new battery mod are you talking about? Because if you're talking about the same battery mod that I already have, this one that is still available for sale at Retro Game Repair Shop, or you can look up my GitHub profile. It's linked on my YouTube About page and just DIY it. All right, March, that is a good question about the tall buttons. So let's talk about the tall buttons. March is asking whether the tall buttons are to drive sales or whether they're out of laziness or what. And the best way to answer that question is if I grab one of my old prototype shells here. So notice these big ass cutouts, these big recesses for the buttons. This shell was always designed for stock buttons, but look at that insanely deep recess. The motherboard sits here, same height as normal. The buttons have to be this far recessed because the screen also sits on top of the motherboard. We need the screen to clear the motherboard, which means the buttons are going to be pushed down. And so we either need to recess the buttons within the shell or make the buttons taller. I opted to make the buttons recessed within the shell. BoxyPixel took the exact opposite approach. Neither is necessarily wrong, but the alternative was making this thing significantly longer. Yeah, I didn't like this recess. Personally, I think it looks cool, but it doesn't necessarily feel cool, which is why we are at this design now. The buttons are still just as recessed, but if you can see the shell, this one's a bad example. You can see the shell itself is at an angle, so they're less recessed down here, more recessed up here, but we also rounded off that recess so that it's less severe. Actually playing this feels fine, but it does result in a much more visually recessed button. And then this is the same shell, just without those rounded off edges. Visually, I like I like this one better. I think this looks better, but the actual rounded recesses do feel better to play, so that's what we're gonna go with. Anyway, I hope that answers the question. Hey, it's not glitter, it's called metal flake, and it's beautiful. Just getting membranes. Just trying to get the rest of the SP parts. I suppose there's no reason that has to happen off screen though. This part, I see people leaving this out of their builds all the time, and I don't understand why people do that. It does serve an actual function. So, use the screen. Oh god, that's so gross. Do I have another one? I have so many of these things in parts on my desk. These are also gross, but less gross. Yeah, no, I don't like... I mean, obviously I disagree with Boxy's method because I went a different route, but just because I disagree doesn't mean it's the wrong decision. Unfortunately, it does increase the cost of the mod because now you have to buy his buttons too. You can't just use any buttons you want. And it does decrease the amount of customization you can do, but it might result in a better feel when you're actually playing it. So if that is indeed the case, then it is a trade-off worth considering. And arguably, it might look better. I don't think it does, but that is all subjective. Also want the LED light pipe. Yeah, I really should clean this, but I'm not going to pause the stream to do that. Hey, these aren't the tweezers I was looking for, but they're tweezers nonetheless. So Boxy Pixel opted to use the original light pipe here, and I have no idea why. Because you can't, because the original light pipe is made of square cutouts. And if you're CNC machining a relief, you can't make interior cuts squares. They have to be rounded because the tools are spinning and the tools are round. I don't know. I think there was a better way to do it. Again, here's what I did. I just drilled holes, and then we have clear 3D printed PETG serving as a light pipe. It's hard to see with all the lighting I have here, but it does work perfectly fine. And I think it looks a little bit better than literal square peg and round hole. Let me review the instructions real quick. Okay. The instructions say nothing about a light pipe. So I have heard from other people who've done this install that to use this light pipe, you just have to trim out this little tab here. I don't want to do that. I don't think that it should be necessary to do any finishing on a product this expensive. So we're going to use our friend the hot glue gun again. But first, a message from our sponsor. No, I'm kidding. I'm just getting tape. The tried and true method for light pipes doesn't necessarily look as good as an actual injection molded piece, but I think it'll look better than a square peg in a round hole. And that's just my opinion on the matter. Hey Sen, I already answered that question in the description. Just an FYI there. Yeah, the hot glue is holding in the 3D printed plugs because otherwise we will have holes in the shell because I'm not doing the USB-C or headphone jack. I mean, I'll come back and do those later, but I don't want to do that during the stream. And I forgot to turn that off. Hang on, 2 seconds. My audio is already terrible quality. No point in making it worse. Okay. Joey, I know that square machine holes. I know it's possible to machine a square hole. I don't think that was the point. I think you missed the point there. Okay. I think we're good to continue the install here. Yeah, I'm genuinely disappointed that the plugs aren't included with the shell. I really think they should be. But also at $3, when you're already spending 130, it's kind of hard to complain. I forgot a step. Okay. And it comes with these countersunk screws here, which are not the proper screws for this application, but because they have a flat head, that's what he says to use. And note that there are only 2 screw holes, or 2 screw posts, despite there being 3 screw holes in the shell itself. Shell. PCB. I'm on a roll tonight. Not sure I like how that sits, but all right. That shouldn't make a difference. It's not going to rub on anything. Anodized aluminum is not conductive. Plus, there's also a literal air gap. The sticker is mostly for touch sensors, regardless, and we aren't using any. Get the right screwdriver. Yeah. Okay. That ain't terrible. I don't hate it. Let's do the back. Throwing my other light now. God, I'm on a roll. All right. Back. What are we doing with the back? We need to transfer over the shielding. So I need that screw bit I literally just put away. Actually, better plan. I'm just going to use the ones that I have, one of the ones that I have sitting in my drawer. Goes like that. You only use 1 screw instead of 2. I'm unsure as to why that decision is. On this side, there's just a locating nub instead of a screw hole like there is on that side. And I don't think we have to do anything else on this side. Oh, you know what? Am I missing a screw? Or did I use the wrong screw on that? Hang on. Let me refer to the instructions. Ah, I see. I used the wrong screw on the motherboard. But in my experience, if you don't put a flat screw here, then the carts won't fit properly. So I'm going to do boxy a solid here and use some of these screws that I literally already have rather than complaining, because I have done a lot of research. Oh, that was open on screws. Oh, these aren't even the nice ones. I thought I had. I don't know. I have a lot of screws. I don't want to talk about the buttons until I get the back on, because the back can significantly influence how the buttons feel. So for the motherboard, I am going to use these CS Enterprises laptopscrews.com. These are M2x3 wafer HD with nylock. I find that these are the perfect size for the PCB and allow everything to fit properly. Oh, but these aren't M2, are they? I don't think they are. I would assume they were. That is disappointing. Yep. That's not going to work. Never mind. I guess we'll have to use one of these button heads. I'm still going to use the flat one right here, though. The screws don't need to be made out of a specific material because of the shell. You just can't use the original screws because you need machine threaded screws as opposed to self-threading screws. So I don't know how well this is coming through on the stream, but if you take a look at the original screws and then just take a look at some machine threaded screws, you can see the thread spacing, the space between each of the threads, is significantly smaller on the machine threaded ones, because this is just a better screw type. Unfortunately, this just doesn't work when you're self-threading or when you're threading into plastic, which is self-threading, so that's why you have to use these. But I don't know what size they are. I'm guessing they're whatever is below M2. Okay. I know we need shoulder buttons, but I just want to see the fit. Or lack thereof. There we go. That's kind of nasty. I don't really like that. I don't know what it's getting caught on either. I think it's because the shielding isn't lined up properly. So that might have been a result of me trying to pull it out. I don't know what that's about, but I don't like it. Like, you see it pop off there. All right, well, okay. Shoulder buttons. That's what we're doing. I thought I just had some extra black ones. I guess not. I'm not used to doing this way around. That's kind of weird. I need the metal axles, which again I could pull out of my shell, but I've literally got just tons of them in a bag somewhere. So this design does not use the springs that the original SP has on the shoulder buttons, which does allegedly result in a different feel. I think any difference in feel that I experience, though, could be accumulated or attributed to my clickies. Oh, and we need to do the battery. If you're using a stock battery, you can just slap this on, but since I am using Boxy's battery, we have to do something that I seriously disagree with, but he opted to make this design choice. But we have to feed that through the shell, and then we have to solder that on. So if we take a look at the original battery here, you can see the top one towards the screen is the ground, bottom one towards the cart slot is the positive. If only someone had come up with a mod that would allow anyone to connect a battery to an SP without having to solder it in. I imagine if someone were to come up with such a thing, it would actually be somewhat popular. It's a shame no one has done such a thing. I like my angled tweezers better. doesn't want to fit. Let's try this the other way around. I don't know that this will be any better, but we'll try it. Never mind, that was tons better. That was upside down. Oh, my stream is frozen. Hang on, guys. I'm sorry. Man, there we go. Where are you supposed to tuck these wires? Yeah, I found it a lot easier to assemble this the way you're supposed to assemble the stock SP instead of following his instructions because I just wasn't getting it to fit. But I don't know. Okay. Goes in there. Ooh, that is not a good fit. Yeah, sorry, the stream was just frozen on my end. I wasn't sure if it was just the video or if the chat was frozen too. I refreshed the page and it was fine. I saw no indication that the upload was frozen, just my view of it was. Yes, this is a Vostok Amphibia. All right, so there we go. We survived. I see something I don't like already. So I complained about this when I first got these kits in. I complained that the LCD is not laminated to the lens itself. And because of that, if there's any pressure on the LCD whatsoever, I don't know if you can see that, but there is this nice discoloration right there where the LCD is being pushed up against the lens. I don't know that there's a way around that. I have heard that people complain that the screen gets smushed if these screws are too tight, but with where it's getting smushed, I don't think that that has anything to do with it. And no, it does not. I don't know that there is a fix for that aside from just using a funny plane kit. Instead, let's use the actual nice cloth. Now there you go, you can see it from that angle. See that nice smudge right in the middle of the screen? Probably right where my pinky is. Also, on the note of the screen, I'm not 100% sure why Nick felt this was necessary. Really? Are you kidding me? That's fucking hilarious. Okay. I'm sure the screen's still fine. Yeah. No, the smudge is gone, by the way. I mean, it's not $50. You just need a new screen. And I don't even have to get up to get a new screen. I have them literally just on my desk. I don't think I did anything wrong, but I guess I did. It's fucking wonderful. I don't even need to take this off. You guys have seen how I handle my things, all right? I have not handled this rough. This has literally never happened before to me. All right, hang on. Let's do some forensics here. It cracked right here, which is right under the charge port. Smudge is gone, by the way. Looks great now. I mean, these screens really aren't that thick, are they? It's 2.75 millimeters. Oh, that was a little bit thicker right there. Plus the thickness of this. It's a good thing that you know, it doesn't say that it's compatible with AGS 101 screens anymore. I didn't even use the insulation film on the other one. See, it feels loose in there, like there's nothing holding it in, which means the problem is probably on here. So if we shave this part down, let's put it together without this for a minute. Alternatively, let's see how many screens we can break. It's aluminum, so tolerances will be tighter than plastic. That is not true in the slightest. This thing has very loose tolerances. Tolerances might only be tighter because it was designed that way, but this thing was not designed with tight tolerances in mind. I can tell you that much. I didn't plan that shit. I genuinely, that just happened. And like you can see, there's room enough for the whole freaking screen to come out, so it's clearly not the back panel. Great, now I hit the touch sensor. But what's a shame is the screen I just broke. This one. This was one of those new holographic label ones. I don't have any more of those. The rest of the ones I have are the older ones. Without the holographic label. They don't have that same bling. So I saw a Reddit thread recently where someone was complaining about how the screen was discolored after installing. And Nick chimed in on that thread and he said, oh, it's because of the tolerances with the screens themselves, which we'll leave that one alone for now. But then he offered to shave down the back panel for this customer. And I don't want to have to send this back. I also don't really have a way of shaving this down. I mean, I can get it done. I just don't want to have to ship it. I can sit here and sand it down. Sure you didn't just have a trash screen. Really, dude? Feel free to rewind the stream. You tell me. Oh, we gotta take the game out. Let me review the instructions once again. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Actually, you know what? Plan B. By all means, this is the better IPS kit. But admittedly, it is more difficult to install because of the tolerances. And I know for a fact that this shell is designed to take this kit. I will explain that in just a moment. But I know for a fact that this kit was taken into consideration when this shell was designed. Because remember I was talking about how I learned quite a few things making my own shell? Well, because Boxy Pixel made the literal exact same compromise that I did to make his shell compatible. See this little cutout right here in the shell where the wall is nice and thin, right here in the edge? That's for this PCB, for this cutout right there. Mine has literally the same thing. So yeah, sure, the PCB one might be a little bit thicker. It should still work. Oh, I thought I had one. Well, shoot. I didn't know. Ooh, is that it? Nope. It's all empty bags. How do I lose things? I haven't gone anywhere. Oh, look, another spare screen. I don't know where that came from. Nope, I do not have... I genuinely thought I had one laying around. One of the ribbon cable ones. Oh, this looks like it's one of the holographic ones. So I can stop whining about that, I guess. Leave that there for now. I have yet another Game Boy Advance kit attached to an SP screen. Looks to be Game Boy Color. Another Game Boy Advance one. I don't have it. I don't know what I did. Oh, I know what I did with it. Hang on. I'm sorry. Please be patient. I'm pretty fucking dumb. I have this one, which we can't use because it doesn't have an LCD connector on it. But I also have this one, which should work perfectly fine. But unfortunately, it is the very, very old kit, which does drop frames. Still cool. Should still work. For all the people saying it was the PCB kit, which, again, I know for a fact that this shell is designed for, we'll try it with one of the ribbon cable kits instead. And if that works perfectly fine, well then, so be it. I jumped the gun, I forgot a step. So yeah, that screen isn't totally dead, by the way, guys. The LCD itself is fine. It's just the lens that's cracked. And I have literally done a video before on fixing those. So it just means I have another one to do, but I also literally have a stack of these things. So it's a very low priority for me. On the other hand, getting this to actually fit together, there we go. I think I just cross-threaded that one. Or there was already a screw in there. Haha! That's why that didn't work. That was the wrong screw hole. Right. So, in case anyone's looking at this going, oh, your charge port's crooked. Yes. Yes, it is. It's not the shell. Charge port is literally crooked. But interesting how there's no pressure mark now. Screen kind of moves around in there. I don't think this one's going to spontaneously explode on me. All right. Let me catch up on chat again. I'm sorry, guys. I keep doing this. Yeah, this is not an anti-BoxyPixel shell. I think that BoxyPixel makes cool stuff. Otherwise, I would not have purchased this to play with. I mean, obviously, I'm making my own too, but I mean, this is still cool. I still wanted one. Despite the fact that I'm on my second IPS kit in less than 75 minutes. So Lethal Mods, I already covered this early on in the stream. Welcome, by the way. Boxy Pixel didn't copy me. I didn't copy him. We just both came up with the same design. This is not the first time someone's made a shell like this. This is not the first time that this is not the first time someone's made a shell like this. There are plenty of designs on Thingiverse for 3D printable versions of this that are designed slightly differently with different arbitrary design choices. There are there are a couple other people who were working on these. I don't know if they still are going to work on them. I know they stopped when they saw the other ones coming out, but I don't know if they're going to pick those back up later. But shame about the other kit. Anyway, let's talk about this thing. Or I could finish my statement. No, Boxy Pixel didn't copy me. We both designed our shells independently of each other. His is no more a copy of mine than mine is of his. They're completely separate things that just so happen to be coming out approximately the same time frame with approximately the same design. Okay. So is someone complaining about me plopping things on my table again? Because this shouldn't break a Game Boy. Yeah, if this breaks, me doing this breaks it, then yeah, it's a fucking shit shell. I'll do it with mine too. I don't even care. Right? Perfectly fine. So, here it is in all its glory. Thick aluminum, bulging. Do I have any more images of my shell? It's right here. Here's the two of them together. Mine is smaller. So way earlier in the stream, I mentioned that I prefer having a button for like brightness controls and whatnot as opposed to touch sensors. But I decided to remove the button from mine because I like this proportion better. I think that proportionally speaking, mine is more aesthetically pleasing. Let me go get a couple more Game Boys because I wanted to make a comparison and I forgot to do that. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. So someone had asked about the color of this blue specifically, and they wanted to see how it stacked up with Surf Blue Game Boy Advance SP, and this is how it stacks up. Surf Blue is lighter. In fact, so is Ice Blue Game Boy Pocket. But more you know. Anyway, what I want to do is I want to grab a DMG, because even though this thing looks monstrous compared to my SP, it is still completely and utterly dwarfed by a DMG. So if this is not too big, this won't be either. But yeah, mine is quite a bit smaller. They are actually approximately the size of a Game Boy Pocket, or at least mine is. Which I guess, yeah, so his is approximately the size of a Game Boy Color then. Just proportioned a little bit differently. Mine is the exact same width as his, which is the exact same width as a stock SP. Oh, I had that surf blue one. What the hell did I do with it? Well, I've somehow already lost the surf blue. Oh, there it is. Just kidding. I found it. They're all the exact same width as a stock SP. Mine uses the SP back and tries to mimic the dimensions of the SP front wherever it can. So mine is going to feel like a stock SP when you're playing it. But his is a little bit different. It's quite a bit taller. It uses custom buttons. It's quite a bit thicker too. I didn't consider this when I was making mine. I wanted to make mine as sleek as possible, but if you're the type that finds your hands getting cramped by an SP, I suppose the thickness might be a pro. Personally, I've never minded the stock SP, which is why I went for this design in the first place. But you know, it is what it is. If that's what you're into, that's what you're into. Oh dear, what's going on now? Are you talking shit about my battery lid screw? We've been over this. I don't have a battery lid screw. I'm using tape to hold it in. This is a stock SP bottom. It's not a design choice. I just literally lost the square nut on this bottom that I'm using. It's a thing. It'll take a screw. I just didn't have one. His though, Boxy Pixels, I'm really not happy with this battery door. First off, the fact that it's bulging out like this, I'm not comfortable with that in the slightest. Now this would be totally a different story if you're using a stock SP battery and his spacer. Oh god, I hope that's not why it was bulging. Nope. Okay. I mean, there's nothing in there. The wires aren't preventing the battery from sitting on the bottom. It's just thick. So yeah, that's what someone had mentioned this before. The reason for this thicker bottom and this cutout here is if you want to do a wireless charging mod. But he also gives you an aluminum battery cover, which doesn't necessarily work with a wireless charging coil. So I don't know, that just seems kind of poorly planned out to me. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it does work through aluminum, but I was under the impression that it did not. So I'm also surprised with how plain this is. Like, there's no obvious spot for stickers. Like on the stock SP, you have this sticker here you could put on. But then again, I guess it's pretty consistent with the design of his other shells. Could always... What did I do with it? I lost the sticker. It came with a sticker and I lost it. Never mind, I found it. It's not even sized properly to put right there. Ooh, I guess you could put it right there. But you know it is sized properly to fit right there. No, I'm kidding. He'd be so mad. But I don't know. It's all right. It feels significantly different in the hand compared to mine. But I kind of expected that going in. I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. Everything kind of works. I will point out some of the issues that I have noticed other people pointing out. This is my first time putting this together. I hope that much is apparent. I haven't played with this before the stream or anything. This is my first experience with this thing. I did watch a video on this beforehand, but I kind of accidentally watched it. I didn't mean to. I like going into the stuff fresh. But I don't know. There are a lot of things I don't like about this. This is, for those wondering, that's why my shell has been delayed so significantly. There are fit and finish problems with this thing that I would be absolutely embarrassed to have my name on if they came out with my shell. Like this is not the latest design of my shell. This one is, but I still like how this one feels better in the hand. But this one still has problems like panel gaps that you can see through, and I don't like that sort of stuff. And that's clearly Boxy has no problem with that sort of stuff. Mine came out of the packaging scratched and with mismatched panels. Like the color on these two panels just straight up is not even the same. It is a different shade of blue on the faceplate. If you look in these corners here, you can see it is already scratched up right there and there. Not quite sure how that happened. Granted, I did open this when it arrived and I did, fondle it and do my due diligence, but I didn't handle it roughly enough to do that. You guys saw how it straight up killed my first screen that I put in this thing. I don't like that it requires his specific buttons. I think that there was a way to do it with stock buttons. I think that he should have gone that route because I don't like having to buy buttons. But that being said, they do look good and they do feel perfectly fine. Let's actually just try it out, shall we? I don't like how he did these cutouts. I think that this was mentioned earlier, and I think it's kind of interesting because I didn't notice this until the stream, and I want to talk about it now because it got my attention and now it's all I can think about. But this bottom piece was machined from 3 different directions. It was machined from the bottom, from the top, and from the sides. Because if you look at this cutout here, you can see there's an interior radius right here and right here, and then on the other side as well. It's not focusing, I'm sorry. And because of this radius, there's this big space between the top of the switch and the end of the shell. And I don't think that decision just blows my mind. Like, I don't know why he would do that, because you could have very easily machined this from the top with a ball end mill and given this nice square corners so that the bottom of the switch and the top of the switch both have squared corners. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. I think that's such a weird decision because I know that these things are built down to a cost, and I know that the tolerances are the way that they are just to make them cheaper. But I don't know. It's like that on the other side too. Like, This looks like it could go up higher, like you can get more volume out of that, but no, that's topped out. There just has to be extra room because of that rounded corner, which, by the way, the bottom of the volume knob is flush with the bottom of the shell, but there's a gap at the end instead to account for that rounded corner. I don't know why. It's inconsistent on both sides, and I don't like it. The shoulder buttons are fine. Like I said, mine are modified, so it's not really a fair comparison regardless. I would have preferred being able to use the springs, but it makes literally no difference to me. I think it's fine. Most games don't even use the shoulder buttons anyway. What was I looking for? It's this, but what did I name it? Oh, never mind. We'll disregard that. So one of the nice things is that the D-pad is at least right. You can't press all 4 buttons at the same time, but you can do diagonals pretty easily. But the rest of my buttons are all working, of course. Let's try Mario. Oh, wow, that's some weird muscle memory. I play most of my games on an SP, and at this point, this one. So I'm used to turning it off and then bringing my finger around the corner to pull the game out, which now hits the bottom of the shell and then bounces off. That's so weird. I would have never thought of that. Where the hell is my game? I don't know where my game is, guys. I lost it. Well, it's not that I lost it. It's on my desk. I've got so much fucking clutter on my desk that I can't find anything. So I guess we're just going to play it off the flash card and start from the beginning. It's not in there. GBA backup. So I think this is a good way to judge if the buttons are any good. Oh my god. I don't remember getting this far. Holy shit. These buttons suck. No, I'm kidding. I think this is... I don't want to play as Luigi. That's better. Okay. I don't actually remember those levels. Like, I used to play this game constantly, but it may not surprise you to learn that I didn't actually get that far, despite playing constantly. Yeah, I don't remember those levels, so my inexperience will show. I also don't like this level. Yeah, you definitely notice the D-pad being loose. Now, I pointed this out in a Reddit comment or Discord, I don't remember which. But I did say that the tolerances on the D-pad must be looser because it's taller. And because it's taller, it just moves more back and forth than something something like this, which only moves like that. There's very little movement, whereas this, you can see how much more that moves. So you just need more tolerance built in for that sort of design. It is what it is, but I also think that this is excessive, yeah. The black ones, you don't notice it nearly as much, I will say that. But I've seen people with the silver buttons. Ooh, that looks terrible. I'm sorry. Is that better? That's better. I've seen the like silver ones or brass ones, and just some pictures look so bad. You see it's just loose in there. I don't know. I can't really show you that effect from this angle because I have to hold it like this. But gravity literally just pulls it down. I will say I genuinely don't like these A and B buttons now that I'm playing this game. The D-pad is fine. I expected to have a problem with the D-pad. I did not expect to have a problem with the A and B buttons. They're still perfectly usable. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was completely out of frame there. Oh, it was that yellow pipe. Shoot. Uh-oh. Yeah, I don't mind the D-pad at all. It's the A and B buttons that I'm not digging. Also, it's kind of weird. I hold my console like this, and these edges are very sharp, and I keep getting my pinky caught in this corner, and it is not pleasant. This is just how I hold it, and I don't like it. I hope he fixes that with a future revision. Give me that feather. Also, the buttons are kind of noisy, but that's kind of to be expected. Metal on metal. They're not annoying. I thought one of those pipes you can go into. Oh! That was close. Can't fool me with that trick. Okay, sorry. I think I need to complete that level to get a good feel for these. So, let me catch up again.
If you had to have a metal GBA, would you get this shell and an IPS kit for an AGS or the Boxy Pixel shell for an original AGB GBA? What's more comfortable and which one do you like better?
Frank, let me go get something. I got a treat for you. Oh no! I don't actually know where my Game Boy Advance is. Alright, well, never mind. I'm not getting the Game Boy Advance. Ask someone with a Game Boy Advance to tilt it back and show you the shoulder buttons. And let me know if you're still into that shell. If so, ask them to show you the cutouts for the link port and the charge port. And
I think you might have your answer.
I don't like... The only Boxy Pixel shell that I do like so far, like hands down recommend without any caveats, is this Game Boy Color one. I'm sorry, that is way too close to the camera because I've got so much stuff under it. I bought one of the original batches that he was still putting Nintendo logos on, and I have modified this thing quite significantly, if you can't tell by the custom Cerakote. But I mean, it does what it says it does. It feels perfectly fine. I'm very pleased with this one. I can't say the same is true with the Game Boy Advance shell or with the SP shell. And I'm scrolled way up in chat. Hold on. Do the A and B buttons feel spongy or stiff? They feel kind of spongy. But since they're tactile, I mean, it's still very clearly apparent where they're actuating. Lethal mods. So is it worth the price that Boxy Pixel is listing it plus having to buy the buttons separately? So at first, I was kind of butthurt that the buttons were listed separately, that you could just buy the shell and then you'd still have to go back and buy the buttons. But the reason the buttons are listed separately is because of a shop framework workaround that he is using. If you want to choose the color of the buttons, you just have to list them separately. That's unfortunately the way it is. I'm not sure, I didn't test this, but I imagine if you just tried to buy a shell without buying buttons, he might say something to you about your order, but I don't know. I mean, you do still have to buy the buttons, and it is what it is. Okay. Oh, I needed that. I genuinely don't remember how to do this. But I thought that was it. Yeah. I guess I do remember how to do it. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you could just 3D print spacers. But until someone releases a design for that, or until someone makes You know, if you go make that design, I'm sure it'll work. Because like I said, there is that cutout in there for the stock style buttons.
You never messaged me saying, hey, buy buttons. Well, that is a very poor design decision on his part then, and I'm sorry you had to go through that.
I am not a real gamer. What gives you the impression that I'm a real gamer? This is the most I've played Game Boy in months. Weight test. I don't think we can do a weight test. I think this thing is too chunky. Let me go look at my scale. I can never remember what freaking button combination you have to press to get it to go. No, I don't want to calibrate. See, it just sits here on this screen until you do some. Oh, maybe you just gotta wait. I don't recall. Yeah, I don't know. I clearly don't know what I'm doing. Mode? Pass. Oh, there we go. Yeah. This scale just... This is too heavy for the scale. Even without the game. So it's significantly heavier than mine then. Because this scale only goes up to 200 grams. Mine with no battery and a plastic back. And no screw. Here, we'll make it slightly more fair. This one has a screw in it. Though I don't think the screw is worth that much weight. Yeah, I don't know. I think this thing's around like 250 grams or so. It is heavier. It is noticeably heavier. But I don't think it's a bad weight. Oh, I suppose I should have weighed a stock SP for comparison. Oh god, here we go again. Here is a backlit Famicom SP. For comparison, it is out of frame. It is 139 grams and does have a battery in it. And then mine, 154. So mine is also heavier than the stock SP. Okay, there you go. Stop calling me a drug dealer, guys. Just because of my scale and the fact that I have two phones, like, just relax, okay? It's a thing. It's a thing that normal people who aren't drug dealers have. I mean, I have more than two phones, but yeah, I have two phones. I'm not gonna whip that out. That's the work phone, and that has confidential stuff on it. So, but I also have this one that I was gonna use to bring up the install guide. I guess we're going to Discord instead. There it goes. Yeah, I just make small batches of cookies. Don't, why are you guys so judgmental about my scale? Someone asked me to weigh it. I had a scale. Yeah, it is heavy. I will say that. It is heavy. It is not uncomfortably so. I don't think anyone ever expected it to not be heavy. Anyway, this is his install guide. I don't know when he updated it, but at least it finally says Game Boy Advance SP instead of right Joy-Con or left Joy-Con or whatever it said. But you gotta walk through each step. Let's see what the wordings are, because I didn't read that. When assembling, do not force the fastener. That should be common sense. Choose the correct length fastener. That should also be common sense. Sure you have the correct. Ooh, I'm live again. Oh boy. I actually recommend getting a set of JIS drivers, not Phillips. You can use JIS drivers and Phillips screws, but you can't use Phillips drivers and JIS screws. And a good set of JIS drivers makes all the difference. I like that this is just straight up listed in the install guide here. Use my installation guide as a starting point for recommended screws for a given hole location. You may need to deviate from this guide if there's not enough thread engagement. Why would you need to deviate from this guide? Every kit should be the same. Yeah. See, this is the part that I was mentioning earlier that I think is pure malarkey. He wants you to finish the edges on the shell. Shouldn't it come finished? Yeah, he wants you to do it on the buttons too. Here's him doing it on the A button or the B button or whatever the hell it is. You got to trim the pins. I already did that on mine. Connect it to test it. That's always good advice. And then assemble it faceplate first. Yada yada. And then this goes into more instructions on the USB-C and headphone jack mods. If you're not adding a headphone jack, simply add a plug as shown to fill the bottom hole if you're not using a 3.5mm jack. Hot glue the 3.5mm headphone jack in place. Ooh boy. That is not the way to do that, but alright. That's how you gotta wire it if you're doing both of those mods, which I will do at some point. I'll come back and do an actual proper video and not a stream though. And I deviated from the instructions here. He says to put the shoulder buttons into the back first and then drop the back on, but I don't think that's the way to do that. I think you gotta put the shoulder buttons in the rear housing. And then I have my battery wires tucked in the same way he did. I didn't use the spacer because I'm using his battery. I'm having trouble with this last step. I'm not enjoying this. Anyway, that's that. We followed that for the most part. Here I am ignoring chat again. Oh, regarding the phone thing, I feel like this isn't obvious enough, but I'm also filming this on a phone, if you can't tell from the reflection.
Yeah, revision C of the instructions.
But regarding the Windows Phone, this is the AT&T version. I tried installing Windows 10 on ARM, but I just couldn't get it to boot. The installer kept failing. So I don't know. I'd love to get Windows 10 on ARM working on it, though. First name, last name, does your design require IPS? Both Boxy Pixel's design and my design require an IPS kit. Both of them. You cannot use stock screens in either my design or his design. The green fixture around the faceplate that I was shown in that guide is just a little stand that you drop it in so you can assemble it flat on a desk without the buttons pushing in. I don't think it's at all necessary, but I understand why it's a thing. Yeah, I don't think you should have to use hot glue on any part of this thing, and I had to use hot glue for 3 things. Will my design support headphone jack and USB-C mods? Headphone jack, no. USB-C, technically, because my design just uses a stock port, so you can replace your stock port with a USB-C port if you want. But otherwise, no. Boxy's design, you could do that too, or you can put it there instead. Rough estimate when yours will go on sale and where. I recommend checking out the description because I put more details in there. Well, I put the answer to your question in there. I didn't actually put any more details. Mine does, well, Dark Samus, mine keeps the LNR springs because mine is using a stock bottom. There is, okay, so there's confusion on this. The plan, which is not set in stone, is to sell the design as a faceplate and then this rear cover, and then you BYO your own stock SP housing rear cover. Or you can buy the machined aluminum rear cover with battery cover. The battery cover, the rear cover, the aluminum one, will likely not be included with the shell on account of it increasing the cost and not being necessary to actually build this. So the plastic one should obviously definitely use springs. The aluminum one will probably use springs, but I'm not gonna lie, I finished the CAD on that one like 3 days ago, so I haven't actually tested it yet. And by finish the CAD, I mean got the CAD to a state where I felt we could start machining it for testing. There is actually, hold up, let me see. I'm so used to the Android controls. Let me bring up some pictures. I know you guys will like this shit. So check out this one. So yeah, we do have something done here. Look at this beautiful build done by the one and only Retro CNC here. There's the aluminum back. I don't have one in hand yet, but it does exist. It is a thing. It has sticker cutouts. On the final version, it probably won't have my logo engraved on the outside at least. But I don't know. We'll figure that out. Nothing's set in stone yet. But there is aluminum. It's beautiful. It is a piece of art right there. So yeah, mine uses these little cutouts in the screen bezel for touch sensors, which are hidden by the actual screen lens. I never actually bothered installing touch sensors in either of my builds because I just didn't. You can't see them from pictures anyway, so, and quite frankly, that's all I did this build for, pictures. So stock batteries in yours only. Well, I mean, I guess you could do my mod battery if you want, but I don't think there's any need for something beyond that. Can the aluminum back be thrown on a normal SP like a hinged one? March? Yes, technically. That's the plan. And that's all I can say on that. That's the plan, yeah. Here's a 3D print I have. I was testing it on a stock SP. And yeah, it does fit, so. JP, why not injection mold to cut down on costs? Because plastic injection molding has a very high startup cost. Also, because this shell is designed to be CNC machined out of aluminum, it would not work very well at all as is. We would have to modify several areas to add like plastic ribs to increase the stiffness. We would have to bevel. Right now, the sides and stuff are all at 90-degree angles, which does not work for ejecting parts from a mold. It would have to be curved outward, like a stock SP. You notice there's that very ever so slight curve outward on all the parts. I'd have to modify the model that way. And I mean, I'm looking into it. I'm not going to lie. I'm looking into it. But it's not on the roadmap for right now. And yeah, it's stupid high startup cost. Molds, high quality molds for good plastic injection models. That's an expense that I cannot afford. Especially since I've told you guys this before, but I'm not making any money off of this. I gave the design away for free for other people to sell in my place because I made this because I wanted one, not because I wanted to sell it. This is just a hobby for me. So I can't sell enough of these things to make money to start doing injection mold. That's just not how that's going to work for me. So it's a consideration, but it's not an immediate plan. I started trying to talk about some of the bad things, some of the cons that other people found with this shell, but I never got to this, and I was actually trying to talk about this when my screen broke on the first kit that I installed. But I don't like that Nick copied this feature from OEM SPs. If you look at an OEM SP here, and you measure your right bezel, you will notice that the right bezel is 5.8 millimeters. And then if we measure the left bezel, we'll notice that it is quite quite a bit bigger at 7.3 millimeters. The screen is crooked on every single SP, or offset rather. If we measure boxy pixels right bezel, we will notice that it is a cool 4 millimeters. If we measure the left bezel, we'll notice that it is quite a bit bigger at 5.3 millimeters. I don't know why he did this. It's not that much effort to just scooch the screen over. Especially since we're using backlit models. We're using custom kits. So will your shell work like Boxy Pixel DS Lite macro shell where the front is aluminum and the back uses GBA SP? JP, I just went over this, dude. Yeah, that's the default option, or you can buy the aluminum back for more. To make the unit slimmer. Dude, mine's centered. Mine's smaller than his. Granted, I'm using custom lenses, but it wasn't that difficult. There's a way to do it with stock lenses too. All right, guys, I think that's all I've got. I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the stream here. Does anyone have any quick questions before I go? You have until I finish my beer. Oh, you know what? Hang on. No. Just thought of something. Wireless mod. Someone commented wireless mod. I don't know what you're talking about, wireless mod. But let's talk about real quick the expansion port. So his doesn't even have those little clips in there for the wireless adapter or for like the GameCube link cable. It doesn't work in his at all. There's no clips. It's just not going to work. Mine has the clips, but there's just not enough clearance to use that stuff. I've tried it. It's not happening. I think his has slightly more clearance than mine, but it's not going to work in either of the shells. Stay. Where is my wireless adapter? I mean, if you take apart the wireless adapter, I'm sure you can get it to plug in. Or if you make like a custom dongle or some shit, that could work. But this thing, it doesn't fit. No clearance. Not gonna work on mine. Not gonna work on his. That being said, a link cable works on mine, and it works on his. And it should go without saying that a charge cable also works. Oh, and I thought I had one handy. I'm sorry. There we go. Red light means it's powered. So that's charging. And that one's charging. So yeah, there's clearance for both as long as you're just using cables, but it won't work with any of the adapters. Any idea where my first kit broke? I have no idea why my first kit broke. If I knew why my first kit broke, it probably wouldn't have broken. I had no idea it was under enough pressure that literally just gently setting it down on the table would cause the lens to shatter like that. Look, guys, the hooks aren't the problem. I was just trying to point out that his doesn't have the hooks because there's no point in having them. This, the port doesn't line up. See how off that is? Because of the rear of the screen. You'd have to remove the rear of this. It's the same for both the shells, not mine, not his, both of them. But the design we decided on, you just can't use it for this. Oh yeah, but his doesn't have lanyard hooks. Mine does. My aluminum one doesn't, though. My aluminum one doesn't have the holes for your cell phone charm. I can't even get this apart, and I'm afraid to break it. I don't know. I don't want to fuck with it. I really don't think it's worth bothering, because if you really want to use this with your GameCube, just make a SP macro or something. I don't have a Mega Man Battle Network Battle Chip Gate. I don't even know what that is. But I don't have one. I can't try that. And yeah, I thought I went over this from the beginning, but there is literally no point to either of these shells. It's a, do you think this is cool? Do you have the money to pay for it? Then knock yourself out. Do you just want this form factor? Well, there are cheaper options. So, I don't know. I'm not too stressed about it, and I don't think you guys should stress about it either. Anyway, I think I'm gonna call it an evening. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for sticking around. You've been excellent. You've been fucking mint. And I'll catch you next time. Oh my god, I do this every time. How the frig do I end this?